One man is in custody following a masked home invasion in Centerville. It's budget season in Barnstable. We have an update from Finance Director Mark Milne. Plus, the Roads Committee is continuing its work to fund repairs to private roads. These stories and more on this episode of Barnstable This Morning. It's Wednesday, April 9th, 2014. I'm Sarah Mannel. Police respond to another home invasion, this time in Centerville. The incident is the third home invasion in Barnstable in the last 10 days. Barnstable This Morning host Sarah Colvin sat down with Police Chief Paul McDonald to talk about the incident.
Chief, another busy week for you and the department, hearing more about home invasions. Tell me a little bit about this latest kind of rash of crimes.
Well, we've had 3 home invasions in the last 10 days. The first one, as you know, happened on Keating Road down off of C Street. Last time we talked, we had 2 suspects in custody. One was being held for $100,000, the other one was being held on $200,000 cash bail. Through the course of the investigation, we knew there was at least one other individual. During the next couple of days, we had narrowed that down. We knew we were only looking for one other suspect. He was eventually arrested last Friday night. He was arrested up in Taunton. We would track him down to Taunton to his mother's house, Mr. Jordan Gomes. He was subsequently arrested. He was not arrested for the armed home invasion. He was arrested for attempted rape, indecent assault and battery, an assault and battery that happened earlier in the evening. We know he was involved in the armed home invasion. He is now being held on $100,000 cash bail, so now we can slow the entire process down. There are multiple search warrants that are going to have to be executed to firm up this case and get the case ready for court. But they're all being held on very high bail, so we are confident we have everyone involved, and now we just have to prepare the case for court. Then back on April 6th, we had another home invasion just after midnight at a Cape Crossroads condominium. This, unlike the Keating Road home invasion, was not a random event. We know the person living there. He was dealing in narcotics. That was a drug rip. 2 individuals went in there while he was sleeping. They assaulted him for the intent of getting his drugs and his money. He was able to fight them off. They got scared away. We responded. We brought him to the hospital. We ended up searching his apartment, and we did recover a quantity of drugs in cash. The third home invasion happened yesterday afternoon at 11:30, which is a very, very unusual time for home invasion. But again, this, unlike the Keating Road, this was not a random event. This was payback. The individual who was arrested, Mr. Kavoda, he just got out of jail. He served 2.5 years in the House of Correction. He was out for less than 24 hours. This was payback. He went in there purposely to assault the occupant. We got the call right away. Mr. Kavoda was arrested as he was leaving the property. We have positive ID from multiple witnesses. So it's very, very unusual to have 3 home invasions in a short period of time. If you have one home invasion in the course of a 12-month period, that's about normal. Having 3 is very, very unusual. But again, the biggest concern of ours is the one in Keating Road, because there was no threat of commonality between the suspects and the victim. That was our biggest concern. That's why we pulled out all stops to get those 3 individuals arrested.
Indeed, and I think it's important for everyone to be aware that all the 3 individuals that were involved in that have been arrested. Do they remain behind bars today, Chief?
They still remain behind bars. There was probable cause hearing and indictment coming up. We are comfortable with the bail set, 2 at $100,000 and the third one at $200,000. We feel quite comfortable. We've been in contact with the District Attorney's Office. We do feel that is substantial bail, and that will hold them.
Absolutely. So again, good to know that at least the 2 more recent ones were targeted, and it wasn't random like the first one. So really, I think the public as a whole shouldn't be entirely concerned.
You should not be concerned. Again, the chances of them happening are few and far between. And I realize we've had 3. I know if they're copycats. I know why they're coming now. But 2 out of the 3 have been cleared, and we do expect to make arrest on the third home invasion at Cape Crossroads. We do expect to make arrests there also. So I know it's a terrible thing, but we're getting the bad guys off the street.
Sure, and I do know, Chief, that residents of C Street and other concerned neighbors have been invited to a community meeting. That's, I believe, being held next week at BPD headquarters.
They're coming in next Wednesday night at 6 o'clock. Councilor Cullum, town manager, will be there. We just want to enlighten everybody, tell them what's going on, where we are in the case, exactly what happened. We probably fill them in why that house was targeted, what they can possibly do to prevent this from happening. Just to be aware of your surroundings, keep the house locked. If you do hear something, you have to call us right away, and just kind of ease their fears. Chances of this happening to anyone are slim to none. Unfortunately, it did happen. I know there's 3 individuals there. It's tough to convince them of that, but they're great witnesses. They've been to the station several times. They're really helping us out solve the case.
Barnstable Police will host a community meeting Wednesday, April 16th for residents concerned about these recent incidents. The meeting will be held at Barnstable Police headquarters at 6 p.m. Town Council is working its way through the capital improvement plan. Finance Director Mark Milne says during last week's meeting, the council voted on 19 out of 51 projects.
So we made a pretty good dent in the capital program, and the council approved just over $6 million worth of projects. So we have a long way to go. There's a long list this year, as you know. We got almost little more than a third of the projects completed last week, and probably going to need a couple of more meetings to finish this, but we'll see how it goes next Thursday night.
The council will take up the budget again at its next meeting, April 17th. Milne also met with the Roads Subcommittee this week. Milne talked about how the town can designate funds to repair private roads through an existing program.
With the existing temporary repairs to private roads program that was put into place back in the early 1990s, there was no borrowing statute in place under the Mass General laws that allowed the town to borrow money to do temporary repairs to private roads. The Mass General laws include a bunch of different statutes that that provide for reasons that cities and towns can borrow for certain purposes, but there was nothing that existed for private roads. And so the town sought out and was approved a special legislation under the Acts of 1994, Chapter 174, that allowed the town to borrow in the aggregate $10 million to do those repairs to private roads under that temporary repair to private road program that we had. So that gave us the authority under Mass General Law to actually go out to the bond market and issue a bond to finance the repairs.
The Roads Subcommittee also discussed other ways to pay for repairs to private roads. Councilor Jim Crocker suggested using funds that have been set aside for sewering through the hotel and motel food tax for private road repairs. The committee voted in favor of adding language to the proposed private roads bill that would allow the town to use those funds for road repairs. Best Buddies plans to make some changes to their fundraising event on Craigville Beach after hearing complaints from neighbors. The annual bicycle ride and walk from Boston to Hyannis raises money for individuals with disabilities. Bill Sykes from Best Buddies talked about those changes at this week's recreation meeting.
The only thing I stuck in here on the first page was some of the changes that we're making to the event as a result of the licensing board meeting that we had at the beginning of the month. It kind of breaks down the changes that we made to sort of make life a little bit more compatible for some of the people who live on the beach or use the beach. Other than that, the event is pretty much the same status quo as it has been in the last number of years. The music will be acoustic this year as opposed to non-acoustic or electric, and there's going to be some electric. It's going to be amplified, but it won't be as loud as it has been in years past.
The Recreation Commission applauded Sykes for making those changes. The Best Buddies fundraiser will take place May 31st. The town of Barnstable wants to construct a new deck and boardwalk on Sandy Neck. The plan will go before the Old Kings Highway Historic District at its meeting tonight. That meeting will be held at the West Barnstable Community Building at 6:30. Well, be sure to tune in to our hour-long news program, Barnstable This Morning, weekdays at 7 a.m. On tomorrow's show, we'll chat with Town Councilor Deborah Dagwan, learn more about the Hyannis Public Library, and have all the news and information you need. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mannel.